So in this one, I'm just going to talk about the Boxing Day derbies that have just gone. Of course, the Scarlets and the Ospreys played on Saturday, but it's the traditional Boxing Day derbies of the Scarlets and the Ospreys and the Dragons and Cardiff. I hope everyone had a good Christmas. There were some good games. I thought the Ospreys and Scarlets game was pretty good intensity. I thought the Dragons and Cardiff game was a bit of a less of a high standard, but I'll start with the Ospreys and the Scarlets. This was quite a dramatic game. It was Scarlets obviously dominated for large portions of the game. This was Mark Jones' first game in charge for the Ospreys after Toby taking over from Toby Booth. So it was quite a lot of pressure on this one for him. Obviously the Ospreys haven't been performing as well as they did last year, so this was going to be a good one to see if they could get on a bit of a run and sort of start to get their season going. The Scarlets coming into this one had been good, but they've been in winning positions quite a lot and let these games slip, kind of like what Cardiff were doing last year. So this was going to be an interesting one. The Scarlets go out to quite a decent lead. The Ospreys had a lot of ball, especially in the early part of the game, but they didn't really manage to create much. It was a lot of just one-up runners and sort of just a couple of passes out to the backs and no one really creating anything. And then on the other side, the Scarlets, whenever they got their opportunities, they took them. They were taking the points when they got them on offer. And then there was a couple of really high-quality tries. The Ellis Mead try was really good, a nice set move. They clearly noticed something in the analysis and picked it out. Some real good quality. The pass from McLeod to Gareth Davis and then the run from Ellis Mead inside. It was a really good try and well worked. But to be fair to the Ospreys, they kept themselves in the game. They kept battling, and there was a few things, a few players making stuff happen. The back row really stood out for me. Tipperick, it's such a shame he's going to retire next year because he's still almost right at the top of his game at the moment. The back row of him, Morgan, and Morris is they just work so well together. The other on the other side, McLeod continues to impress. The battle of the breakdown was really good. They were getting straight in there. There was a lot of turnovers each way and penalties won. It was a good battle between Morgan at 6 and McLeod at 7 for the Scarlets. Owen Watkin had a pretty decent game, went on a really nice mazy run, beating defenders after defenders. Good to see him get some confidence back after he had a bit of a bad run in the Wales squad, really. And then we went into the sort of dying stages of the game. I think it was maybe Max Douglas won a penalty with like 5 minutes to go for the Scarlets, and it looked for all money then that they were just going to just close the game down and just eke out the win. And then a massive turnover late on from Jack Morgan, who wins the penalty and gets the ball back for the Ospreys to give them one more play with just a few minutes left on the clock. And to be fair, they were really composed. They took their time, and over time they broke the Scarlets down. The Scarlets had the discipline started to slip. Yo Nicholas goes into the bin, and eventually the numbers told, and Yestin Hopkins goes over as the clock is read, and it's a really dramatic finish to a game. You could see how much it meant for the Ospreys. Absolute heartbreak for the Scarlets. Another one of these close games that they probably should have won. They were in charge for most of the game, large parts of it, and the Ospreys didn't cause them too many troubles. But when it counted, the Ospreys did what they managed to do last season, find a way and get the win. So congratulations to them and Mark Jones. I bet he's really relieved. So much pressure after taking over from Toby Booth. So like sort of midway through the season, and this hopefully now will be somewhere where they can springboard them now for the rest of their season. On the other hand, the Scarlets, it's another near miss and another game. Like I said, they've let get away, and this is starting to emerge a bit of a pattern for the Scarlets now, where they're missing these games. They're taking charge of them, and then late on, they're letting them slip away. So I hope Peel can sort that out, and it's not something that gets into the player's head, because Cardiff just let it happen constantly last season, and they were like the nearly men, but it doesn't get you the wins. So yeah, it was. But this was a really entertaining game. I really enjoyed it, and it was a close one. You know, one of those typical derby games, but it was of a quite a high quality game. So it ended up being 23-22 to the Ospreys. So congratulations on them, and hopefully this is a springboard now for the rest of this season. Then we go to the Cardiff and Dragons game, which was yesterday on Boxing Day, and the standard wasn't as high in this one, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it really is. They tend to get into this scrappy battle every time. Cardiff obviously emerged victors, as they've tended to do throughout these games. It was similar scoreline, 22 to the Dragons, 24 to Cardiff, and now that's a whole decade without the Dragons beating Cardiff 20 games in a row, something like that. So it's pretty shocking, you have to say. I don't really understand it, because Cardiff have not been great over the recent years, and you would have thought Dragons would have managed to nick one of them. They started really well, Dragons. They were clearly the team that were most up for it. They were out of the gates really fast, putting Cardiff under pressure, constant, eventually breaking them down with a great run from Aaron Wainwright. I think Alex Mann misses the tackle on him, and then with some good footwork from Wayno, and then he goes over, carries a few players over the line, and then Dragons managed to keep the pressure, and Cardiff were making lots of errors, couldn't get out of their half, a lot of penalties from Cardiff, and then they started to turn it around a little bit. They sort of played in moments more than anything, similar to what they've done all season, really. Poor performances for large chunks of the game, and then get an opportunity and tries come from it. The Josh Adams one was a lovely set play where the centres have come direct and they look like they're going to get the ball, and Adams comes on a lovely shadow creeping line in between the two of them. No one picks him up, and then it's a great little lifted pass from Ben Thomas, perfectly timed. Adams goes through and then skins the fullback, and he's in under the post, and he's looking like he's back being really sharp. It just shows how much he needed that rest and get his fitness back to 100%, because he looks lethal at the moment, taking the opportunities that he gets presented with, and just showing that world-class finishing that he's always had throughout his career. The Cardiff sort of took over the middle part of the game then. The mistakes and poor discipline started creeping in for the Dragons, and then it sort of devolved into this like sort of slugfest, a bit of an arm wrestle in the middle of the pitch, a lot of kicking back and forth, no one really getting on top of the other, a little bit of niggle, which is good to see. Alex Mann was in amongst it again, probably lucky to get away with a yellow card. I think it was Coughlin sort of tackles Aled Davis as the ref blows the whistle. Davis has a little bit of a push out at him, and then Coughlin sort of like, big brothers him, because he's probably twice the size of him nearly, and then Mann just comes flying out of nowhere and sparks this big, like everyone's chucking each other around, which was, I quite enjoyed it. It's good for the crowd, it gets the crowd into it. Obviously no punches thrown, but I thought Mann was quite lucky, because he sort of like lunged at Coughlin on the floor, then almost like a swinging arm, not quite a punch. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's a derby. This is what you want to see, a bit of passion. And then I suppose the drama come the last 5 to 10 minutes. The Dragons managed to go back ahead, and with the game, there's about 5 minutes left. Cardiff have an opportunity to go for posts to take the lead, but instead they go for the corner for the bonus point. Dragons actually defend really well for a long period of time, and then there is a moment where the commentators were saying that they thought there was a knock-on from Cardiff. The ref checked it. The Dragons players were complaining about it, but it was hard to spot. But the player goes down for Cardiff. He drops the ball backwards, and it comes off the scrum half, and he kicks it forward back into the ruck, and it looks like he's lost it forward. So I can understand where the Dragons players and fans would be frustrated, thinking they didn't get that one, but it was ultimately the right call, and the ref went to the TMO, and he, while the play was going on, and he agreed with the ref that it wasn't a knock on. So that one, I think Dragons fans can maybe feel a bit annoyed, but that was ultimately the right call. What I thought was harsh, though, is from that, I believe, Cardiff did kick into the corner again. They had a succession of attempts at the driving maul. The one they did score, the line-out throw for that was so completely not straight. So I don't think the Dragons contested, but that was miles off. So I think they got away with that one there. But it was just like that air of that it was always going to happen, just because Cardiff have always beat the Dragons. So it was like it always just felt like they were going to win. But so disappointing for the Dragons, a close one again. Like I said, 22-24. Bonus point for Cardiff. Obviously, the Dragons get the losing bonus point, but the opportunity, that was one of their best opportunities to nick the win. It reminded me of Boxing Day like 3 or 4 years ago, where Cardiff won it at the depth again. Just the weight goes on for the Dragons, but they look a lot more competitive, but this just sometimes the core skills and the discipline are letting them down. Great to see Faletau back. He's obviously had his first game last week, but this was his first full 80. It was great to see him up against him and Wainwright. It was a good back and forth battle. Both of them just showing how good they actually are and showing moments of quality. It'll be great if we can get them both in the same back row fit. And they were both sort of, you could tell there was like, they were both going at each other, which was great. Obviously Lydia as well. Lydia was putting in some good tackles on Faletau, so I saw a great picture online of them afterwards, like hugging, which was lovely. Two greats of the modern day era. An interesting one was Shane Lewis-Hughes was back after having his finger cut off. I think it was like 3 weeks ago, and he's back playing already. So he's hard as nails, that bloke. And another interesting note was Elliot D back to fitness, which is super important because the news that come out that Derby Lake is more than likely going to miss the Six Nations. He's got to have an operation on his bicep, and it's looking like months and not weeks, was the quote from Mark Jones. So important to get D back, because to me he would be the starting hooker if Lake's not available. So that was the Christmas derbies. I'll do the next ones when after the New Year's Day derbies, but just thought I would talk about them because who doesn't love the Christmas derbies? So I'll catch you on the next one.